All right, so we're going to talk about how to do a stem and leaf graph. So I've got on the right some data that talks about how many shoes that you guys own. And I've ordered it according to males and females just so it's a little bit easier. When you do a stem and leaf, what you're going to have is you're going to have pretty much this little center column, which is going to be your stem. And your leaves are going to branch off to the right. So if I'm looking at my data on the right, the lowest number I have is 2 out of everybody, and then the biggest number I have is 24. So when I make my stem, I'm going to organize it. I'm going to put a 0 here. So all of these numbers breaking off are going to be all of my single digits. I'm going to put a 1 here, so these will be all my 10s, like all the way from 10 to 19. And I'll put a 2 here that go from 20 through 29. And the only thing that you have to make sure is that you go in order. So this is going to be everybody in one stem and leaf graph. So if I'm looking at the males, I start the lowest number is a 2, so that's my single digit number. So 2, comma. I've got 2 4s, so 4, 4. And then I've got a 5 on the male and a 5 on the female, so I need 2 5s. And you just keep going. I've got a 6 for females, 7 for male, 8s, I got 2 for males, so 8, 8. I got a 9. And that finishes up all my single digits. Okay, moving down to the next level, now this 1 is going to represent all of my 10s. So I've got 4 females with the number 10. So the 1 is already here, and I'm just going to put a 0. This is going to represent 10. And I got 4 of those, so I'm going to need 4 zeros, which represents 4 10s. Okay, and I got 11 for males and females. Sorry about that. So 1 represents 11. I got 2 of those. I've got a 12. I've got 14. I've got 2 14, so 4, 4. And I got 2 17, so 7 and a 7. All right. And then going with the 2s. This are all my 20s. Male, the men don't have anything in the 20s. Females just have 2 numbers, a 20 and a 24. So in order, it would be a 0 and a 4. So that is a stem and leaf. Now, the one thing you have to make sure you do is we have to label this. And the way that we order a stem and leaf is we make a key. Okay, so I'm just going to do like a little representation, like for example, 3 inside the stem and a 1 outside. And I'm going to say represents. We'll say 31 pairs. So now I have it labeled and I know exactly what these numbers represent. Okay, so there is a stem and leaf. If we wanted to, instead of just doing a regular stem and leaf, if you notice these numbers, they branch off. These branches are really long. What we can do instead is called a split stem. Okay, now in a split stem, we're taking that stem and we're splitting it up. So I'm going to have 2 zeros, 2 1s, and 2 2s. Okay, now how is this going to work? Well, this 0 would be anything from 0 through 4. This 0 would finish off the single digit numbers, so 5 to 9. This 1 would represent 10 through 14. This one would be 15 through 19. Okay, the first 2 would be 20 through 24, and the last 2 would finish it off from 25 up to 29. Same exact approach, you just split it so you get a little bit better idea of where all the numbers are. I'm going to really quickly kind of go through these. All the 0 through 4s, I've got a 2 and a 4 and a 4. Okay, 5 through 9s, I've got 2 5s, I've got a 6, I've got a 7, I've got 2 8s, and I've got a 9. 10 through 14s, I still got 4 10s, so 0, 0, 0, 0. I've got 2 11s, so 1 and a 1. I've got a 12, and I got 2 14s. Okay, 15 through 19, I've just got 2 17s there, so just a 7 and a 7. And I got a 20 here and a 24 here. Okay, so if you notice when you split it up, you get a little bit better of an idea of what the data is going, like where the bulk of our data is. Okay, so we're going to use a split stem if our original stem and leaves, we only have maybe 3 branches and they're really, really long. To make it a little easier to work on, you could always go with that split stem. Okay, and then the last one that we're going to do is called, let me add a page, is called a back-to-back stem and leaf. Now, you use a back-to-back stem and leaf anytime you want to compare two groups. So for me, I had you identify a gender. So what we're going to do is we could put males on the left side and females on the right. Okay, I'm just going to do a normal stem and leaf here. So I'll just do 0, 1, and 2. And then it's like creating 2 different stem and leaves, one for each gender. Okay, so for the males, we're still going to go from the smallest number out, but we're going to always start at the stem. So I have a 2, I got 4, 4, a 5, a 7, 2 8s, and that'll end up my single digits. And then for the double digits, I got an 11 and a 12. Okay, so this gives me a good idea of what the male side looks like. And then if I put the females on the right side, 5, 6, 9, and my 4 10s, 11, 14, 14, sorry, 17 and 17. And the females rounded out with a 20 and a 24. Okay, this will kind of give you guys a better indication of where the measurements of center are. The males, they've got one peak up here, and then it's skewed to the right. Females, looks a little bit more symmetrical, and their center is in the teens, or looks around the teens, and the males are in the single digits. So this will give me a good way to use SOCS when I'm comparing these values. And then I know I didn't do this before, but make sure that you guys always put a key here. So we might want to say a 2 and a 5 represents 25 pairs of shoes. Okay, so there it is. There are all of your stem and leaves. If you're having any trouble, come on in and we'll go over it.